the big question becomes, all right, we know who is in DACA, right? Those are the dreamers. We know who has TPS. You're either in or out. You have TPS, you don't got TPS. Right? Mm-hmm. You know who works on a farm.
Yes.
You work on a farm, you don't work on a farm. Mm-hmm. Quite straightforward. We always get the question, who's the essential worker?
That's what I was going to ask. Like,
right? Who's the essential worker? The way that I understand the law is going to pass is that it is essential workers who were deemed essential for the COVID pandemic as of March 2020. Mm-hmm. Now, who was deemed essential for the pandemic? March 2020. That's the way the legislation I read in the newspaper, in the news that was being reported. Maybe it's changed in the last day or so. But the way that I have read it was if you were essential for pandemic, now it could also change all the time. It may change again in 2 weeks.
Right.
We don't know what the final legislation is. But what I read over the weekend, for sure, because I did a lot of research over this weekend, is that if you were essential March 2020 for the COVID pandemic, and that was determined by the Centers for Disease Control, then you are part of the amnesty program that may pass this budget reconciliation. Mm-hmm. This is who was essential as of March 2020.
Okay.
Healthcare and public health workers, hospital and laboratory personnel, caregivers. So if you're a nanny, you're an LPN, you take care of an elderly person, that's a caregiver.
Elizabeth Francis got that.
Okay. Mental health workers, doctors, nurses, researchers, pharmacists, dentists, social workers, technicians. So caregivers. We go back to teachers.
Okay.
Okay. Teachers and teachers' aides were listed as part of critical infrastructure.
Good.
Social workers, technicians, anyone who works in a funeral home, anyone who works in a cemetery, anyone who transports bodies between a hospital, a cemetery, and a funeral home. Law enforcement, emergency management personnel, police officers, firefighters, paramedics, medical technicians, 911 call centers, and anyone who works in an emergency operations in a 911 call center. Food and agricultural workers, including those who work in a grocery store. If you're an employee in a grocery store, you are an essential worker.
Nice.
If you're an employee in a pharmacy, essential worker. Anyone who works in a restaurant, the cooks, the dishwashers, the waiters, the maitre d', the guy on the bicycle delivering you your food.
Oh, wow.
All essential workers. Company cafeteria workers. Anyone who works in animal agriculture. And anybody who is associated with the food and beverage industry. So perhaps you deliver supplies. You work in a supply company that supplies restaurants. You would be included. Farmers. Anyone who works in a processing plant making food. Anybody who works in a warehouse where food goes through. It's almost any Amazon worker, I would assume then. And anybody who delivers food in a truck. All essential workers. Energy employees, including anybody who works in telecommunications. You're selling iPhones, you work in telecommunications. You work in the Verizon store, you're selling telecommunications. Any staffer, you can think about it. Any staffer in a telecommunications company. Anybody who works in the natural gas or propane field. Those would be the people up in South Dakota who are fracking, and down in Texas. I don't know anything about oil. But if you work there, you're included.
Okay.
Anyone who works in the electric industry. Engineers, you are included. If you're working as an engineer, you are included. Anybody who works in cyber security, you are included, including all staff of every company that works in cybersecurity. And anybody who works in environmental remediation or a company that supplies environmental remediation equipment, included. Anybody who is in the operations and maintaining of drinking water and wastewater and drainage infrastructure. Included, here's a big one, all mass transit workers, all auto repair and maintenance workers, all trash collectors. So if you work in an auto body shop, you work as a mechanic, you are included as an essential worker. Anybody who works in shipping. So if you are basically trucking anything anywhere, you're included. And by the way, somebody just asked about Uber drivers.
Yes, I did see.
There's nothing here that says Uber driver is essential worker. But putting on my lawyer cap, I know there's Uber Eats, and the Uber drivers deliver food. So if you can demonstrate as an Uber driver that you're delivering food, you would be included, presumably. Because you're a food delivery, but maybe not taxi, I don't know. Is Uber considered a transit worker? I don't think so. Uber driver is not an auto repair or maintenance worker. Okay, but many of them deliver food. Now all of a sudden every Uber driver car smells like French fries. Okay, air traffic controllers, air transportation employees, so anyone who's working at the airports, dispatchers, maintenance and repair technicians. So anybody who is repairing anything regarding transportation or logistics. Every person who works in a warehouse in America is an essential worker.
Wow.
Anybody who works at a truck stop or rest area is an essential worker. Any employee who operates, inspects, maintains dams, locks, levees, bridges. Anybody who oversees sewer main breaks, traffic signals, buried underground utilities. All essential workers. Anyone in the communications and information technology field, including technicians, operators, call centers, wireline and wireless providers, cable service providers. You work for the cable company. Satellite operations. I can go on and on and on. Anybody who works in radio, television, media service. Anybody who works at a newspaper, in a recording studio. Any technician for news gathering and reporting. All essential workers. HVAC and electrical engineers. Security personnel. All those questions for security guards.
Yes.
You're included.
Awesome.
IT managers, software and hardware engineers, database administrators. Elections personnel. It goes on and on and on. I mean, they've included a lot of jobs. Building employees. You work as a doorman. Whether it's in a commercial or residential job, you work in maintenance in a building, in a co-op or a condo, you're included. Security staff of those buildings are included. And educators. It's a lot to memorize, you know?
It is.
Workers necessary for the manufacturing of materials and products needed for medical supply chains, transportation, energy communications, food and agriculture, chemical manufacturing, all of those people are included. You know who also is a essential worker? Anyone who works at a bank.
That makes sense.
Anyone who works in a lending institution. Anyone who services an ATM. Workers in the chemical and gas supply chains, including workers at chemical manufacturing plants. Workers in laboratories. Workers at distribution facilities. Workers who transport basic raw chemicals. Anybody who works in a gas station. Workers who support the essential services of national security. Anybody who works for a company that has a contract with the military is an essential worker. That's my list. What do you think?
I think that you better have that long list right next to your
Yeah,
desk.
I know. I'm going to have to remember it. And then, you know, the lawyer's job in all of this, prove that you did this and prove you fall in one of these thousands of categories.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, if anyone thinks that they're going to be doing this on their own,
Yeah.
you know, I always say this all the time. You know, if they ever made immigration easy, I'd be selling real estate. They never make it easy, right?
Right.
They never make. I'm just thinking about this. I'm like, they don't make it easy for anybody.
Yeah.
But that is the list of the moment. We will know in the next 2 weeks. Now, how long did you have to be an essential worker? How are you going to prove you're an essential worker? We don't know. How are you going to prove that? I know on the last amnesty for farm workers, you would just get a job letter from a farm saying you worked there. Maybe it's going to be that simple. What about people who were qualified for the TPS and didn't apply? Will they be qualified for this amnesty? I don't know. But if you qualify for a TPS and you can still put an application in, I do it. For those who are in DACA and did not reapply for DACA and let it expire, will they be part of this amnesty? I don't know. But if you let your DACA expire, play it safe. File right now. What about those who never applied for DACA and could have? Will they be qualified? What about children who came after the DACA deadline? Will they be considered a dreamer? Those things we don't know yet. What we know is a general outline of the 4 amnesties that will pass for dreamers, TPS, farm workers, essential workers. Will it pass? I hope so. I give it 70% chance right now.
Okay.
The reason why I can't give it 100% chance right now is because there's a fight in the Democratic Party between moderates and the progressives. The progressives, the face of the progressives, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. The face of the moderates, Joe Manchin of West Virginia. He doesn't want to do much of this. You lose his vote in the Senate, this whole thing falls apart.
Right.
Now, he did not want to do many things. He would go on television all year long not supporting Biden, and then at the last second support him. So I'm hoping that he's a lot of talk just to get his way on certain things. And he's not fighting, by the way, he's not fighting about the immigration proposals. He's fighting about taxing the rich. He's fighting about the cost of the whole entire infrastructure program and the social service program. But it's all tied together. Environment, social service programs, taxation, child tax credits, free education for people getting their associate's degrees in community colleges throughout the United States of America, raising the taxes on corporations. It goes on and on and on. It's a complete rehabilitation of what America has been for the last 20 years. Part of it, a very small part of it, which obviously is a big part for the people watching here, is what's going to happen with immigration. Mm-hmm. Well, my birthday's coming up in 2 weeks, and according to Nancy Pelosi and according to Chuck Schumer, they want a final deal voted on Monday, September 27th. Every day, we will know a little more.
All right.
And who knows all the hidden goodies that have not come out in the news yet.
Right.
You know, that they may have for other people. Like I can imagine, I don't know, I haven't read anything about it. I can imagine them bringing back 245I, pay a penalty fee, be able to adjust your status here if you get sponsored in a job or you overstayed your time. It's a budgetary maneuver that would enable, because people are paying a penalty fee, $2,225 to get a green card. That's a budgetary maneuver. If you want to say, okay, well, every immigration law has to have a budgetary component to it. I don't know. You know, the other easy thing they're going to do, I haven't read anything about it, which they should do. They have something called registry. I always wanted them to do this. Mm-hmm. I hope they do it. Who knows? They have something called registry, which is the oldest form of amnesty on the books from 1972. And basically, the registry program was, if you were here on January 1st, 1972, and prove it, you can adjust your status. Now, there's not too many people who come to my office anymore who don't have legal status and have been here since January 1st, 1972. Right. So you don't see those cases anymore. Right. But it's on the books. It's a very simple thing to change. You don't have to make a new law. Just cross out January 1st, 1972 and January 1st, 2012, January 1st, 2015, pick a date. The most simple thing you can do. It's literally changing a date.
Right.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I haven't read anything about it.
You've pinned that, yes.
Immigration advocates have some backup plans. Should the parliamentarian, I didn't even see this in my cards. Just listen to me.
You gotta keep looking.
It's like, no, I'm saying to myself, it's like I have like a sixth sense when it comes to immigration.
Right.
What is it, dog whisperer? You know, has that sixth sense with dogs?
You have that with immigration.
Yeah. I didn't even see this. Immigration advocates have some backup plans if the parliamentarian does not rule in their favor for the amnesty program including updating the immigration registry.
Wow.
Which, by the way, I think they're going to do anyway, but you just haven't heard about it.
Right, right.
I just have that hunch because that's the easiest way to make an amnesty. It's the easiest way to make an amnesty and just kind of slide it in there under the radar.
Wow.
Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.